State. And where do you think most of, say, L.A., where do you think their loyalties lie? Where did they lay? Where did they lie? Yesterday. With the Raiders or the Chargers? I guarantee you people were rooting more for the Raiders than the Chargers yesterday. For a team from another state. The Raiders got it like that in L.A. But, does L.A. have a quarterback in Justin Herbert? You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. By the way, Raj is my producer in L.A. I'm in New York. It's COVID days. See where it says pause for imaging right after that?
Why'd you put that there?
I pause. Oh.
Silly.
The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Sean Payton make the right move starting Drew Brees? I'm going to tell you in a second. Drew Brees starting. Remember, should it be Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston? It's Drew Brees. I'm going to get to that in a second. And by the way, Giants fans, and I am one, fighting for Big Blue's playoff life against the Cleveland Browns, who are favorites on the road. Can the Giants pull the upset? Can they really pull the upset? Without Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones doesn't look like he's going to play. I'll get into that in a second. Be a part of Max Kellerman Nation on the Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-SAY-ESPN. ESPN Nation is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back, and so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Drew Brees will be the Saints' starting quarterback Sunday versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Saints believe he's fully healthy, and doctors have cleared him to play. Now, I was asked, the way we do it on First Take, we start getting these topics together the night before, because a lot of the work behind the scenes in First Take is finding out where Stephen A. and I disagree. Like people come up to me, ask me a lot, like, wait, do you guys really disagree? Yeah, and it seems unlikely. Like, well, how is it that you disagree on everything? It's not that. In fact, we agree on most stuff. The real work is finding out where you disagree. Keep asking questions till you find out where you disagree. And I was asked last night, should they start Drew Brees? I said no. But when the news broke that they actually are going to start him, because I had my mind I was thinking, like, all these cracked ribs and the lung and the whole punctured lung and 11 cracked ribs, whatever it was, fractured ribs. Just let the guy heal up, and he'll still have a couple games to get ready for the playoffs. But when they announced that he was going to start, I said, okay, he checked out. And that changed my mind. It changed my mind that he checked out. Yep, start him. Start him against the Chiefs. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I thought Jameis Winston gave the Chiefs a better chance to win than Taysom Hill. And I believe Taysom Hill's better than Jameis Winston. And better for this Saints team than Jameis Winston. But if you want to beat the Chiefs, it's going to be a high-scoring game. You're not gonna, clock manage. You're not gonna, time of possession, ball control them to defeat. And that would be more Taysom Hill. Jameis at least gives you a puncher's chance. His kind of moxie may hasten your demise. Probably it will. I mean, Chiefs would be likely to beat the Saints with Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. But maybe with Taysom Hill, they lose in a more kind of grinding game that seems like they can win, but they actually lose. And with Jameis Winston, maybe they lose bigger, but I think they have a better chance to win because he'll take those shots down the field. But neither one of them give you as good a chance to win as Drew Brees. Especially not a Drew Brees where, folks, this looks like the swan song. He was thinking about retiring last year. Remember? Listen, we had a coach. Sean Payton was on First Take during this, the show before the Super Bowl, telling us, no, Taysom Hill's our quarterback of the future. I was thinking, is he doing one of these coach things where he puts that out there for some reason? But what reason could he have? Teddy Bridgewater's out the door. He's getting too expensive. Why would he need to spin that? And he meant it. Had the courage of his convictions. Played Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill played pretty well. He did. But Drew Brees, knowing that this could be it, knowing one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, that this team and the defense of the Saints until last week, they had about a month run where they had the best defense in football. And that includes the Rams and the Bears and everyone. He's got to be looking, Brees, at this team saying, this team with this defense, and I mentioned the Quan Alexander trade, the linebacker from San Francisco, who's a good player. They got him because San Francisco was going to owe him a lot of money, and they obviously weren't going anywhere this year. So the defense is real good, but he finally got a number 2 receiver in Emmanuel Sanders. And really hasn't had him all year because of COVID, and Michael Thomas missed a few games. And now Drew Brees has his whole squad back, both sides of the ball, basically. There are always injuries in football, but he has a full complement of weapons on both sides of the ball. And this could be it. And why is this game so big? Well, it could be a Super Bowl preview. But also, the Saints don't have the NFC locked up. There's 7 teams per conference this year. Only 1 gets the bye. So number 1, the Saints would like that bye in the first round, and the Packers are nipping at their heels. And Aaron Rodgers is playing the best quarterback in the world right now, including Mahomes, by a very little bit. But more than that, we all know, everyone knows who plays fantasy football. If Drew Brees is playing at home, draft Drew Brees as your quarterback if you get a good price on him. He lights it up in the dome. But on the road, a little bit different. And you understand why, because, at home, not only do you have your fans, not this year so much, but you have a climate-controlled environment, right? So that is better than, wind or whatever. But that'd be one thing if he had to play on the road. If Drew Brees, so number 1, it's the bye, right, in the first round he's playing for. But number 2, which makes a huge difference in terms of your chances of winning a Super Bowl. And before I get to the rest of it, let me explain why that is. Let's say you're 80% likely to win your first round matchup, right? As a number 2 seed, let's say, right? And you're 60% likely to win your second round matchup. Well, that's pretty good. You should get to the conference finals, right? To the NFC Championship. You know what 8 times 6 is? Real quick. Raj, what's 8 times 6?
Hang on. Carry the 1, carry the 1,
Yep.
8,
Yep.
and then the 6, and what, 5?
How many ones
Well,
you
I'm going to carry 2. I'm going to go 48, 42, 46.
48.
Is it a multiple choice question?
So the point is, you're 80% likely to win that first game. You're 60% likely to win the second. You're feeling good about getting to the NFC Championship game. But guess what your odds are to get there? Under 50-50. You're under 50% likely. You have to multiply the odds. When you get that bye in the first round, if you're 60% likely to win that next game, you go from 48% likely to get to the conference finals, to the NFC Championship, to 60%, right? You're less than likely versus you're less likely than not to make it versus you're a bit more likely than not. It's a big deal. But then there's the other thing that I was mentioning. It's one thing to go from climate controlled to wind or something like that. It's another thing to have to play the NFC Championship game on the frozen tundra in January. Like, that is... Who likes the Saints at Packers in the playoffs? I don't. I like the Saints at home against the Packers in the playoffs, maybe. I don't like them in Green Bay. Do you like them in Green Bay? No, New Orleans understands how important this is. That's why they're starting Drew Brees. And when I was asked on the air, do I like the Chiefs or the Saints? I just reflexively always say Chiefs. You know what? I think the Kansas City team is a 2-loss team this year. And when I look at the schedule, because they toy with teams, they let teams in games. This may be a Super Bowl preview. Drew Brees is rested and extremely motivated. The Saints have a lot more to play for right now than the Chiefs because of what I just mentioned. The Saints might upset them. The Saints might upset the Chiefs. And could you imagine what that would set up in a Super Bowl rematch in Drew Brees' last season against the best maybe who ever did it? In that dude's prime. Meantime, Justin Herbert and the Chargers play spoiler to the Raiders. We're going to get into that in a second, but that was Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less, only at Walmart. Ryan Clark now joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Ryan is starting Drew Brees the right move.
Hello, you guys got me?
I got
All
you.
right, cool.
Ryan, is starting Brees the right move for the Saints?
You know, I don't think you can keep him out, Max, if he's truly healthy and ready to go. This isn't one of those situations where Sean Payton gets to say the coaching, the training staff says you're 100% go. We've watched you practice. You've been able to do everything extremely well. You look like you're back to your old self, but we're not going to play you. Drew Brees has earned the right to play. He deserves to play. He gives his team the best chance to win. And so if you feel like you've checked off all the boxes that say he would play any other week, you know, you can't make this decision because you're playing Kansas City. If Drew Brees checked every box that said he would play week 1 against the New York Jets, then you let him play. You allow him to go out there and play this game because he gives you the best chance to win. He's your leader. He's your first ballot future Hall of Famer. And, you know, quite frankly, that's what football players do. They battle back from injury. They lead their teams to wins despite adversity. And so this is Drew Brees' opportunity to come back and play, put your team with a chance to get the number 1 overall seed. And so I think it's the right call, like I said, if you've done everything the right way.
Well, Ryan, look, you played in the NFL. You won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're an excellent player. And, you know, who am I to disagree with your football opinion? I will mention, however, right around 2005, I won a championship in Madden. Now, it was in GM mode, and I simulated it against the computer. I didn't actually play, but still, I think that puts us on equal footing. I think you would agree. So let me disagree with your football take here for a second. I don't think that the reason you play him is simply because he's healthy, although he must be healthy to play this game. I think the urgency is twofold. One bye per conference, and the Packers are nipping at the Saints' heels. That's one. And you really want that bye. It really increases your chances to win a Super Bowl. And 2, Ryan, it's one thing to say Drew Brees and the Saints play better at home in a climate-controlled situation indoors, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would go for anywhere they'd have to travel to play, even without fans. But to go to the frozen tundra in January in the playoffs, that's bad news for the Saints. That's such a swing in their fortunes. The bye plus having to go to Green Bay. I think that's the urgency to win this game against Kansas City.
Oh, no, you're exactly right about the urgency. And I think the other piece of it is obviously Drew Brees feels that urgency as well, Max. Drew Brees understands the difference in between playing those games inside the dome and having to travel to somewhere like Lambeau. I believe on an Instagram Live with the NFL yesterday, Aaron Rodgers talked about it. He said, look, he's like, we haven't had the big snow yet, but we've had flurries. And I think people understand what it's going to be like here late January. And we do. We do get it. Like, listen, I walked out on the field in 2 AFC championships, bro, and the wind chill was below 0. And you know what? I was dang happy about it because that's who we were. Like, we had a quarterback built to play like that. We had a team built to play like that. And we had a defense.
Ryan, that's why real football fans love that. You know, there's something about like, oh, this fancy passing offense team. But we all know that when the playoffs roll around, boy, you better be rugged enough to play in that cold because you're going to have to go somewhere cold, likely. And when we see that, that's like NFL films and football fans go, yeah, the Steelers or especially the Packers or the Bears or the Giants or one of these old school NFL teams that play in cold weather. That makes you say, okay, that's playoff football.
Well, Max, think about how many times, right, we have these throwbacks of these great playoff games, and you can see the breath coming from the mouth of whether it's the quarterback or the big-time defensive end or linebacker. Like, that's what we associate with the big moments in football. And I think Drew Brees understands that if that becomes the moment, right, if that's the picture we look back on, that pitcher won't have the Saints victorious, and that's the urgency in beating the Kansas City Chiefs.
John Facenda wasn't saying the sun was shining brightly and conditions were perfectly nice. Nah. Hey, Ryan, I want to get through a bunch of topics with you, so let me whip through this. Looks like another year no playoffs for Gruden and the Raiders. They're 1-4 since Week 11. Of course, they were 4-12 when he took them over, right? Or they went 4-12 his first year. Last year they went 7-9. He inherited a quarterback he didn't necessarily ask for. Although he hasn't played poorly, really, for the most part. And right now they're 500, and if I had to guess, I guess they'd end 8-8. They seem to be trending in the right direction. What's your feeling about Gruden and the Raiders?
I think you are right, Max. They are trending in the right direction. But when you give a guy 10 years, $100 million, you allow him to trend that way at his own pace. I think they were a little bit ahead of schedule. What we saw early on this season after the second meeting with Kansas City, when offensively they looked like a team that could be carried offensively to the playoffs, and now all of a sudden this defense falls apart. Many of the draft picks or the acquisitions made by Mike Mayock and Jon Gruden aren't panning out defensively, and now this team's on the outside looking in. And so I think if Mark Davis has that patience in Gruden, they can possibly get there eventually. But do they get there with Derek Carr as the quarterback, or do you start that transition or have that transition and start all over? And so I think what happens the rest of this season and obviously the start of next season is very important for Gruden, because after 3 years in the start of the fourth, if you don't see where this team can be a championship contender, I believe you start to get worried.
What's up with Russell Wilson? Because, like, since Seattle's bye week, Russell Wilson, who started out as the MVP, right? And he's a sentimental favorite to win it. They were going to give it to him if it was close. He's thrown 17 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, 69% completion rate, and 7.4 yards per attempt. So, essentially, he went from MVP to average over the past bunch of games. What is it, 8 games now? What do you think's going on with Russell Wilson?
And you know, it's crazy. Remember at the beginning of the season, I had basically given him the MVP because I expected that type of play that we saw early on to continue. And now he's almost gone back to the Russell Wilson that was carried by run game and defense. And I can't necessarily say that his teams have caught up with him so much so as they've caught up with the way that they ran offense. Caught up with the tendencies and understanding that these are the 2 or 3 routes DK Metcalf runs well and can beat you on, and these things are what we have to force him into. Understanding how to keep Russ within the pocket so he doesn't get outside and make those second chance plays. And we've seen that time and time again. Also, not necessarily the defense has played better now, but having some games where he felt like he had to do too much. And so I think Russ has fallen back to the mean. I think, and not that he's not a great player, Max, because we've seen him be extremely good every year. I think us continuing to try to push that narrative or force him in to the Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, that tier conversation is just not a true conversation. It's not the truth. And we have noticed that.
He's like Drew Brees level.
Yes.
But as a different kind of player.
Yep.
But he's not Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. Those guys are differently talented. Although Wilson is an all-time great, he should still be in his prime, but I think that's good analysis. Ryan, we saw the Chargers last night beat the Raiders, and Justin Herbert has probably Adam Gase is the worst head coach in the NFL. I think Anthony Lynn is right behind them, and he's really seems to me to be hurting Justin Herbert's progress, and yet that's why they have a bad one-loss record. And yet, if I had to choose quarterbacks ahead of Justin Herbert, and I'm guessing, right, I'm taking trajectory because Dan Marino won MVP his second year. Mahomes won MVP his second year, his first year starting. And Herbert is getting closer and closer to his second year. He's played most of the first year already. I look at his talent, and people compare him to Dan Marino and Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's quite that talented, but the fact that he's even getting compared tells you a lot. And when I think about who I'd take over him in football right now, my honest opinion, like lie detector test, I would tell you I'll take 5 guys, but I have him 6 with a bullet. I'll take Mahomes, Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen this year. I wouldn't take anyone else ahead of Justin Herbert. Tell me I'm crazy.
I can't. I actually can't tell you you're crazy because it truly depends on your outlook on it. Because to me, I don't think you're saying that right now he's played better or carried his team better to more wins than some of the other quarterbacks in the league. What you're saying is when you look at today going forward, who do you think projects to be better than Justin Herbert? And I think you're absolutely correct. When you look at what this dude can do just from a measurable standpoint, you think about the throw he makes last night very late in that game. He's under pressure. He's getting hit. It's late in overtime. He's able to stand in the pocket and make a big throw down the field when only throwing the ball once in the fourth quarter. This dude has everything. And I actually tweeted last night, like, why in the hell wasn't Oregon better? Right? When you look at this dude looks like a generational talent that never won a national championship, that never was in the
let him throw the ball.
Right, that wasn't at the Heisman finalist, wasn't one of the Heisman How? This dude is going to be an all-time great. This dude's going to win a Super Bowl. This dude's going to win an MVP. You just got to do the right things around him. And the Chargers' record, Max, ain't because of Justin Herbert. It's because of bad coaching, bad clock management. He's had some games. Maybe you look at Buffalo. You can look at New England and say, okay, he wasn't great, but he's still 21, 22 years old. This dude is going to be an all-time great.
Well, that's from another all-time great, Ryan Clark, if not on the gridiron, where he did win a Super Bowl and he was very, very good. Certainly when you add up the broadcasting, the whole thing. See, some people get into some Hall of Fames because they do this on the field and this off the field. Ryan Clark needed a little extra help to get that next level, and he's doing it with his broadcasting career. The great Ryan Clark, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Never Lion Clark, Raj. Joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. I do think that, as accomplished as he is, and many of the football guys that I talk to are, I do think that given my championship simulating Madden in 05, I did win a Super Bowl once, just in GM mode, franchise mode. I didn't repeat, and it was, as I said, the computer was simulating against itself, the machine, but nevertheless, I think that puts us on, I think everyone would agree that puts me on equal
Yeah, and it's hard to repeat, man, even in Madden, because the guys aren't hungry the second year, man. Right. So you did what you did, man. That's okay.
That's right. I did what I did. Listen, I think we made the playoffs. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. New York, I'll tell you why the New York Football Giants, are about to pull off the upset versus the Browns. 'Twas the end of the year, and it's been less than fun, but as your business grows, you need to hire for 2021. Make hiring much faster and easier, most would agree, by going to ZipRecruiter.com/max to try ZipRecruiter for free. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter say they get a quality candidate within the very first day. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter absolutely free at ZipRecruiter.com/max. That's me. That's ZipRecruiter.com/max. Just to be clear, happy hiring to all, and to all a great new year. An upset brewing for the New York Football Giants.